There we go, everybody. Hi, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We're sorry to come on. I was going to come on about 15 minutes ago, and then we found out some more information that we wanted to talk about. Folks, we've had some earthquakes today. Now, there's been speculation why these earthquakes happen. I want to tell you right now, I believe that the majority of these earthquakes that have happened as a result of the solar flare that launched from the sun this past Thursday that ended up hitting Earth on Saturday into Sunday, and the effects of the solar flare are ongoing for another like 72 hours. That's what I believe has happened today, yesterday, and today. You remember yesterday we had a 6.7 off the coast of Macquarie Island, or down in the area near Macquarie Island, which belongs to Australia, but is directly south of New Zealand. Macquarie Island is a thin spit of land, about 23 kilometers long and only 2 miles wide, 5 kilometers wide. At the north part of the island, there is a research station owned and operated by the Australian government. You can look at it with Google Earth. It's there. Okay? I've looked at it together with our dear friend Rob. Most of you know who Rob is. Okay? Rob is one of our mods and one of my dearest friends. Now, what has happened? Okay? The seismic energy that we've seen over in the northern part of the Pacific, well, not the northern Pacific, but over into the northern area of the South Pacific. We're talking about the Solomon Islands. We're talking about Vanuatu. We're talking about Fiji. We're also talking about Tonga and the Kermadec Islands south of Tonga. Kermadec Islands are north of New Zealand, closer to New Zealand, but south of Tonga and Fiji. The Kermadec Islands have been getting hit with 5.0 large earthquake activity, even upwards of 5.5 activity. While the Tongan Islands, the Samoa Islands, Fiji, and Vanuatu got hit with 6.0, 6.5 activity, that seismic energy is finally made manifest south of Fiji Island, down there south of New Zealand, and south of Macquarie Island. This earthquake today is probably, I want to say, at least 2,000 miles south of Macquarie Island, down just north of the Antarctic Ridge. We all talked about the Antarctic Ridge. I wish I was able to be on my computer today to show you what we're talking about. But what is going on, folks, is we're still seeing increased seismic activity in the South Pacific, even as far south as the Antarctic Ridge. We'll continue to see that happen. We've seen it happen during the past 4.5 years. Okay? I saw it happen for a great period of time before that as well. We've covered the activity in New Zealand. In the past 4 years, 4.5 years, 5 years that we've been on the air, we've covered activity in the Kermadec Islands. Back about 4.5, 5 years ago, we covered activity in the Kermadec Islands to the tune of 7.4, 7.6 earthquakes hitting there every few hours. Literally 14, I believe it was 14 earthquakes within a 24 to 48 hour period. It was incredible seismic activity. Major seismic activity hitting the Kermadec Islands. Now, for those folks that were not with me back then, and those folks that have joined me here on the Emergency Management Associates Network, I want to tell you that the Kermadec Islands are unoccupied islands except for birds. It's a bird sanctuary owned and operated by New Zealand, and occasionally U.S. scientists go down there as well. But the Kermadec Islands can only be occupied during high tide. Why? Because the ocean waters in that area are not that deep when it's low tide. And in fact, if any boats or anything else marine try to approach the Kermadec Islands, what happens? They get ripped up by the rocks. So scientists have to go in during high tide and make sure they scoot out there before the low tide happens. Okay? That's what the story is. The only place or only things that occupy the Kermadec Islands are birds. That's it. Okay? That's what's going on. I am going to, since we don't have any mods here, I'm going to remove the comment that's either Japanese or Chinese. All comments must be in English. Okay? I'm going to establish some rules that we've always had here. All comments must be in English. They must also, by the way, that means hi from South Korea. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that from Seoul, South Korea. God bless you for being here. We appreciate you and want you here. Okay? I do appreciate that. We want you to stay on topic as well. What I'm talking about, I want you guys also to talk about. Okay? We want you to discuss it and also understand what we're doing here and why. Okay? Those of you that asked how old I am, it's none of your darn business. Okay? I'm just going to say that plain and simple. It's none of your business. Now, I am probably a lot younger than you think I am. Okay? But it doesn't matter. At this point in time, we're here talking about science. Yes, I'm going to talk about some other things that are also happening, but I want to talk about science here. I think it affects a lot of people's lives, and that's why we're discussing it. Okay? Now, we're still getting hit with earthquakes in the New Zealand area, both the North and the South Island. The majority of the earthquakes are up on the North Island in New Zealand and in the what they call the Bay of Plenty, which is what looks like a catcher's mitt just in the water, just on the north side of the North Island. It's called the Bay of Plenty. It looks like a great big catcher's mitt. That is the Bay of Plenty. We have quite a few earthquakes in the Bay of Plenty. Those earthquakes are just small earthquakes, 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes. But those earthquakes are also important. Those earthquakes are also important. You need to realize that. When we see large amounts of earthquakes hitting New Zealand, that only tells us that there's a larger earthquake coming. Just like we've seen in Italy. There's a larger earthquake coming in Italy, especially in central Italy. We're getting upwards of 50 earthquakes a day. That's no joke. 25 to 50 earthquakes every day in central Italy. Now, when I get my new computer, I'll show you that. But it's incredible amounts of earthquakes. The last time it happened, within about a month and a half after the swarm of small and minor tremors, all of a sudden what we had was a 5.1 earthquake. That's going to come again. I promise you that's going to come again. All over Europe, we're getting hit with 2.5, 2.7, 3.2, 3.5, 3.7, 3.9 earthquakes. Over in the Turkey-Syria border region, last year at this time, last February, a year ago February, We had major earthquakes that hit there. Major earthquakes that hit there. The largest was a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that left a 14-mile long fissure there. The earth opened up. There was a huge fissure there. Okay? A fissure that you could fit an 8-story building into. That's how big that sucker was. There were at least 5,000 people that were killed in the Turkey-Syria border region, and at least that many injured. The people in Turkey and Syria are still trying to recover from that earthquake. And yet that area today has about 60 earthquakes there. They're trying to recover from that massive earthquake, and the ground keeps shaking. Even a 4.5, or I think it's a 4.7 earthquake today in the Turkey-Syria border region. Most of the earthquakes were minor earthquakes and small 3.0, 3.9 earthquakes. The majority were just minor. But when the small and moderate earthquakes come, those are felt and people get very nervous and they have a right to be upset. Their world was shattered a year ago. And like I've said in previous programs, that area is going to continue to get hit for years to come. Whenever we see a large earthquake like that, packing that kind of energy, it stands to reason, and it always happens, and we're seeing it all over the region and all over the world where we've had those earthquakes, including down in the Philippines. We saw a 9.0 earthquake hit off the northeast shore of Mindanao, Philippines. 3 earthquakes there today. 3 small 3.0, 3.9 earthquakes hit there today. And it continues to happen. Okay? Over in central Sumatra, we still have a volcano there called Marapi, M-A-R-A-P-I. That volcano last year played havoc with a lot of people. It killed several people. Some people that were on that mountain when it erupted died as a result of burns and various injuries when that volcano erupted. It's still erupting today. Upwards of 15,000 foot eruption, 4,600 plus kilometers high above that volcano. And that's not the only one. Several other volcanoes also erupted in Indonesia. I'm going to talk about those volcanoes in just a minute. Ridgecrest is a 2.4 earthquake happened in Tennessee 34 minutes ago. Oh, yes. The entire area of the New Madrid Fault is moving. Okay? Anybody that says it isn't is blind, or they're just lying to the public. I want now to go over to Iceland. The Reykjanes Peninsula, we've talked about it before. The Reykjanes Peninsula goes further south than where Grindavik is. Okay? I wish I could show you a map where Grindavik is. Grindavik is a seaport on the southeast side of Iceland, on the Reykjanes Peninsula. We've talked about scientists that have said that it's a matter of days and the Reykjanes Peninsula is going to erupt with another eruption, and it hasn't done that. And in fact, yesterday, the seismic activity went down. It diminished. So the scientists are now saying that the magma has settled down in the Reykjanes Peninsula. As I told you last night and for the past probably 4 days, down beneath the power plant, okay? The power plant is just north and just barely north and west of Grindavik. It's a geothermal power plant where man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of the volcano to obtain steam to power turbines to generate electricity and also to carry hot water from the groundwater system there in the Reykjanes Peninsula and run power to all of Iceland and heat the homes of all of Iceland. There's only one other power plant, and it's just directly east of the capital of Reykjavik. Okay, but down underneath that first power plant I told you about, okay, there's a great big huge magma chamber, and it's been uplifting that power plant higher and higher and higher, about an inch every week. That's how high that land has grown. Okay, but what happened the other day on Saturday? The earthquake stopped. The earthquake stopped. Scientists believe Saturday into Sunday that the magma from that great big huge magma chamber down beneath that power plant has leaked north. There is another magma chamber, a tunnel that the magma has found in the rock of the crust there, and it's made its way north. Okay? Now, north of Reykjavik, north of Grindavik, okay, the power plant's up here. North of Grindavik, down here, we have another rectangular shaped diagram that the Met Office in Iceland has put out. This rectangular shaped object that's like this, running from north of Grindavik, north about 3 miles. Okay? The rectangle is shaped like this, running north northwest from south southeast, just like this, away from Grindavik. And the bottom of that rectangle is like this, meaning the area there is the highest ranking for a possible earthquake and a possible eruption. Okay? So they do not believe that the eruption will happen in Grindavik. Grindavik still has not had an eruption there. Okay? The magma has moved north. And right now, the scientists don't have any idea when the eruption is going to happen. Okay? It's incredible. It really is. The scientists, after the first and second eruptions, thought that the magma was going to move north towards Reykjavik, and yes, it may be doing that. And if that happens and the eruption happens closer to Reykjavik, then everything will have to be rethought out. Authorities that have seen the eruptions around Grindavik have built a great big huge earthen wall around Reykjavik. I'm sorry, not Reykjavik. Well, they're building the one around Reykjavik as well. Reykjavik is on the west coast of Iceland. Down around Grindavik, they've also built an earthen wall there to protect the town of Grindavik. And they've allowed residents to go back in there, in the Grindavik. Okay? So that's what's happening. Don, thank you for blocking that man. He needed to be blocked. He made some statements earlier, and I put him in timeout. Jilly Gold Vertag said, my brother died of cancer. Can you shout him out and say his full name to respect him, because we would call him by his full name, is Nick Hare. Okay? So yes, I shouted him out. Thank you for that. God bless your brother, and God bless your family. Okay. NCWQ News and Disasters Explorer is saying my mic is a bit fuzzy. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about that right now. And I'm sorry. It may be a bad connection or whatever it is. We're sorry about that. One of our people in chat just said they respect us. I don't even know how to pronounce your name, but I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name. But we want you here. Yeah, NCWQ says it might be YouTube as well. Yeah, it could be. Okay. YouTube does a lot of stupid stuff. Anyway, the earthquakes over on the Reykjanes Peninsula have slowed down or stopped. Okay. So we don't know what is exactly going to happen, but right now we don't believe that there's going to be an imminent eruption possibly within the next week. It could happen, but we doubt it. Okay. The critical zones are west of that area I told you about where the magma has gone to, west of there. That is the critical area. The area that's most thought of as going to erupt is that rectangular area I told you about. Okay, right directly in the middle of the Reykjanes Peninsula. We don't think anything else is going to happen there outside of that area. Okay, so that's what's going on. The zone that I'm talking about on the map that the Met put out, the Met Office is a meteorological and planetary seismic science division of Iceland, run by the University of Iceland. It's Zone 3. Zone 3 is a danger area. Outside of there, we have zones 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. They're designated as considerable risk. Okay? On the map, they're designated as the color orange. Okay? Now, I want to talk about that because I thought it was necessary. Way south of there, over in Central America, Fuego volcano over in Guatemala has erupted. North of there, Popocatépetl, southeast of Mexico City, has erupted. Semeru, Ibu, Merapi, and Dukono volcanoes in Indonesia have erupted. Okay? That's all happened today. Sakurajima, Kyushu, Japan, is clouded over. There is no volcanic ash that's identifiable in satellite imagery. Okay? South of Japan, there's a small island south of Japan. It's called Suwanee-Zajima. There's a very large stratovolcano there. Suwanee-Zajima volcano in the Ryukyu Islands. It has erupted. A 5,000 foot eruption today, flight level 050 down there. Mount Emu in Halmahera, Indonesia, and Dukono volcano in Halmahera, Indonesia have erupted. 7,000 foot eruptions at both of those volcanoes. Flight level 070. Okay? In the Lesser Sunda Islands between Sumatra and Java, there is a volcano. Okay? Luotolo volcano. There is an effusive explosive eruption and it continues from Luotolo volcano in the Lesser Sunda Islands. Lava from the cinder cone of that volcano continue to feed the flow from the southern flank of the volcano. Currently, that flow is 2,000 meters long, nearly 1 mile long. Okay? A strong thermal anomaly at the volcano's cinder cone and the southern slope is being detected by satellite. Okay? A thermal anomaly meaning hot air. Hot air. Semeru volcano has erupted up to 15,000 feet, 4,600 meters high. Flight level 150. Merapi volcano over in Sumatra, western Sumatra, central or west central Sumatra. The Volcanic Ash Observatory down in Darwin, Australia, has warned about a volcanic ash plume that rose up to 18,000 feet, 5,500 meters high, flight level 180. Over in Popocatépetl, southeast of Mexico City, the explosive activity is continuing there. Popocatépetl has been erupting on and off for years now. Today, a volcanic ash plume rose up to 20,000 feet high, 6,100 feet high, 6,000, or six, not feet, 6,100 meters high. Flight level 200. Fuego volcano south there in Guatemala. There's 3 volcanoes down there that primarily erupt, but today Fuego, the fire volcano. Mild explosive activity continues from that volcano. Intermittent ash emissions from the summit of that volcano. Nothing huge, just minor, mild activity there at Fuego volcano. Down in Peru, southern Peru near Tacna, Peru, volcanic ash advisory has been issued from Buenos Aires because Sabancaya volcano is now shrouded in clouds. They're unable to detect anything there. No visual sightings and no satellite sightings from that volcano. Now, let's talk about currently erupting volcanoes. Okay? This is important. A lot of people have been talking about volcanoes. That's why we're talking about it. Bezmeny volcano in central Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia. Kamchatka Peninsula is over there on the northwestern side of the Pacific Ocean. It belongs to Russia. There's about 4 or 5 different volcanoes over on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Today, the Bezmeny volcano has erupted. Okay? There is an erupting depression in the cone of the volcano. Okay? Tucono and Halmahera also, as I've reported, has erupted. 7,000 foot eruption. South of there in the Kuril Islands, we have Ebico volcano. Ebico has been erupting since February 16th. Over in Antarctica, Erebus volcano over on Antarctica, it has an active lava lake in the summit crater. Erta in Ethiopia has been erupting, but right now, today, it's quiet. Okay? It's quiet. It's been off and on again since January 29th. Mount Ibu volcano that I mentioned a little bit earlier. There's a volcanic ash advisory at Mount Ibu. Again, a 7,000 foot eruption there. Krakatoa, over between Sumatra, it's closer to Sumatra than it is Java, but that's where it is in the Sunda Strait. Krakatoa has been having weekly activity. It isn't huge, but it is there, and they're just waiting for another eruption from Krakatoa. Can't even pronounce this today. Luatolo volcano in the West Sunda Islands has also been erupting like we reported. There's a continued lava flow down the southern slope of that volcano. We talked about Merapi over in the central west part of Sumatra. Volcanic ash advisory there. Over in Nicaragua, Central America, Masaya, 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 Nicaragua has had a minor ash fall there. Just a minor eruption over there at Masaya volcano in Nicaragua. Minor ash spill there. In central Java, there's another volcano. It's called Merapi, M-E-R-A-P-I. The one in Sumatra is M-A-R-A-P-I. M-E-R-A-P-I in central Java has also been erupting as of about the 24th of October. Okay? We expect to have further eruptive activity there. Since January 30th, it's been off and on. Okay? In the South Sandwich Islands, okay, there's another volcano there called Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. There is thermal anomaly above the summit crater of that volcano. We don't usually hear too much information about Michael in the South Sandwich Islands. However, where you have subduction like we see in the South Sandwich Islands, you're going to have a volcano, and vice versa. Over in Africa, in the DR Congo, Nyiragongo, Nyiragongo volcano is off and on again. Okay, one day it's erupting and one other day it's not. They have a weekly volcanic activity report that's issued there. Okay. Again, I want to remind people here, please stay on topic of what we're talking about. Otherwise, your message will be deleted by our mods here. Okay? Don't go there. Don't go there. Over in northwestern South America, Reventador and Sangay Volcano. I couldn't remember the name Sangay Volcano. They're over in Ecuador. They're twin volcanoes there. Those have also been erupting. It's almost constant there at Reventador and Sangay Volcano. Most of the time it's 18,000 to 20,000 feet high at either or volcanoes. Okay, it's always happening. Over in southern Peru, we talked about that earlier. Sabancaya volcano over near Tacna, Peru. There's a volcanic ash advisory there. We talked about Sakurajima a few minutes ago. San Dieguito volcano over there near Fuego in Guatemala. Okay. There's also a volcanic ash advisory that's been updated since 6th February. Okay. It's off again, on again. Actually, 28th February. It's off again, on again over there in San Dieguito volcano in Guatemala. We talked about East Java, Semeru volcano, a volcanic ash advisory there. Going back to Kamchatka Peninsula, okay? We talked about Biziameni volcano, and there's at least 3 or 4 others there. Shivalush volcano. Shivalush volcano has been fairly quiet since September 14th last year. Prior to that, it was on again, off again, almost every week. 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, 3 years ago, Shivalush volcano erupted up to 85,000 feet high. Incredible eruption. We covered it. We are the only agency that covered that eruption. We almost covered it live. Okay? We knew what was going on. Okay? USGS, on the other hand, denied it happened. 3 days went by before USGS finally caught on to it. Then they apologized and say, yes, it happened. But they also said it was less of an eruption than it was. They said it was only up to 46,000 feet high. That's half as high as it originally was. Okay? And I still stick by the idea that it was 85,000 feet high. Airplane pilots said that. Okay? Airline pilots said that. Okay? And I'd rather believe the airline pilots than the USGS. Okay? The USGS finally admitted that it erupted, but they said it was only 46,000 feet high. Still, it was up in the stratosphere. By that time, the ash from Kamchatka Peninsula from Shiveluch volcano was already over Alaska. The ash from Shiveluch was already over Alaska by the time the USGS decided, oh, it happened. Incredible thing. Okay? There are several other volcanoes over there in the Kamchatka Peninsula. Okay? Wild. It really is wild. Now, I want to go over to Italy and Sicily. We have two volcanoes down there between Italy and Sicily in the Aeolian Islands, Eolian Islands. Okay? They belong to Italy, but they're down there between Italy and Sicily. Stromboli volcano and Etna volcano are not really putting on a huge show anymore right now. As of February 6th, they were on again, off again, putting up huge, what shall I say, volcanic fissure and volcanic summit, and also blowing out the side of the volcano, putting on great big huge shows of lava fissuring up into the air. It was incredible. It was incredible. Wild, in fact. But Stromboli and Etna are on again, off again since about February 6th this year. Okay? Now, we talked about Suwanezi-jima volcano in the Ryukyu Islands south of Japan, the volcanic ash advisory there. Someone in one of our Facebook Messenger chats talked about Villarrica volcano over in central Chile, or central Chile. Okay, gotta pronounce that right. Central Chile. Okay, it's over in the Andes Mountains on the eastern side of Chile. Okay, it's been erupting off again, on again, off again, I should say. But folks, it's steaming. There's constant steaming from the main vent and mild Stromboli eruptions. Mild Strombolian eruptions, meaning huge displays of magma. Huge displays of magma. Today, if you go over to the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center over on Volcano Discovery, there's a lenticular cloud that looks like an upside down dinner plate hanging over Villarrica volcano today. There's a beautiful sunset picture taken by the people over in that area. Up at the top of that volcano in the summit, there's a radiant summer lava pond. A lava pond up there like a lava lake. There has been explosive eruptions at this volcano, and it's at moderate rates. Moderate rates. It's been happening. Okay? Now, as I said, there's continuous bright emissions of steam and gas emitted from the summit vent associated with mild Strombolian style eruptions. And it's generating those glowing lava bombs that we've talked about at other volcanoes, including Marapi over in Sumatra. Glowing huge lava bombs thrown out of the crater area. Here at Villarrica, that's what's going on. Okay? There's a lava-filled lake up there that's glowing. That incandescent orange-red glow up there. Now there's a lot of heat that's in that thermal area. Okay? So airlines and other flying planes and helicopters are asked to stay out of there. Because because of that thermal anomaly there, of that heat, rising heat out of the volcano, it would make a plane go like this, whoop, and then all of a sudden it gets on the other side of the volcano and it will go, whoop. Not good. Okay? There's a delicate equilibrium between the heat and the magma supply at the summit of the volcano, and the cooling and the mild emissions during degassing of the volcano. So they're asking all airlines and flight activity to stay away from Villarrica volcano. Okay? There's a 500-meter exclusion zone around the main crater. So airlines and other flight activity should be completely away from there. Totally away from there. Now, over in Vanuatu. Okay? Vanuatu is between Fiji and the Solomon Islands. There are several volcanoes over in Vanuatu. All the islands of the Pacific were created by volcanic activity. There is one particular volcano over in Tanna Island, Vanuatu. It has not been erupting all the time. Okay? The last updated volcanic activity report was October last year. Okay? That's what's been happening. That's what's been happening. Now, with that said, does anyone have any questions about the volcanoes? We're going to go back here and talk about earthquakes in just a second. Richard Smith says EMSC, which is the European agency, posted that Kazakhstan has no information. Now, with that said, there have been earthquakes in that area. Okay? There's been all kinds of earthquakes in that area. I want to go over and talk about one such earthquake today. Okay? They're not mentioning any earthquakes at all. But in Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan, there have been earthquakes. They're just not showing it today. They're not showing anything there today. And I think that's a fallacy. Okay? They're just not talking about it. Okay? The only earthquake in the Middle East that they're showing is over in northwest Fanji, Iran. And actually, it's in southern Iran. USGS says it's in the northwest of Fallujah, Iran. It's over in southern Iran. There's a huge fault zone coming out of India. Okay? In northern India, we have the Himalaya Mountains. Okay? Looks like a great big huge soup bowl. Okay? The Himalaya mountain range looks like a great big huge soup bowl bordering India, Nepal, and China. That is a huge earthquake fault zone. Okay? That fault zone runs from there over to the Caspian Sea. There's also an earthquake fault leaving the Himalaya Islands going over on the western side of India that dips down into southern Iran. And where it dips down is where that earthquake hit today. It's a 5.4 large earthquake, a mid-range 5 earthquake. Anybody living in that area felt a very large jolt today. And because I know of the economy in Iran and the way people live in Iran, it's not a good place to be during a large earthquake like that. It's just not. Okay? Now, over in southeastern China, there was another 5.4 earthquake there, a mid-range 5.4 at Nagku, China, Nagku, China. Okay, they call it northeast of Nagku, China. It's over in southeastern China, a 5.4 earthquake. This was a 10-kilometer deep earthquake. The same thing by the earthquake in Iran, except that was 35 kilometers deep. Both earthquakes 5.4 magnitude earthquakes. Now, I'm going to proceed westbound. Again, I'm going back over, and I talked about this a little bit ago when I talked about the earthquakes in Turkey and the Syria border region. 60 earthquakes there. 60 earthquakes there. And yet, USBS doesn't say a darn word about it. Not one word. Earthquakes all over Turkey, literally. Probably 15 or 20 earthquakes in Turkey today. Now, over on the western side of Turkey, we have a bunch of islands there. As I've said before, those islands belong to Greece. They're called the Durkle Islands. They're 2.0, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7 earthquakes, minor earthquakes. Okay? Then, right now, USGS is showing one earthquake between Turkey and Greece. Turkey and Crete. The island of Crete, south of Greece, belongs to Greece. Right between Turkey and Greece, there's an island called Karpathos, Greece. A 4.3 earthquake hit there today, a moderate 4.3. Now, we talked about that huge earthquake fault that shattered a year ago over in the Turkey and Syria border region. That earthquake fault comes out of Turkey there, goes down underneath the island of Corsica in the Mediterranean, and heads for Greece, heads for Crete, Greece. It goes south of Crete, Greece, like this, and goes up to the western side of Greece. That 4.3 earthquake is right between Crete and Turkey in the Durkle Island area. Now, they're not showing any earthquakes at all in Greece. That's a huge lie. Okay? You might say, well, why they're not showing earthquakes? Why is it a lie? Because there are earthquakes there. There's a ton of earthquakes there. There's about 40 earthquakes in the mainland area of Greece. 40 earthquakes. Those earthquakes go up into the Arabian Sea up there, or not the Arabian Sea. I can't remember what it's called now. Armenian Sea. Anyway, there's a bunch of water, a sea that goes between Albania and Greece, and in that sea area is where Patras is, and Patras is where we've seen a bunch of 1.5, 1.0, 1.7 tremors. Well, now there's 1.5, 1.7 tremors, but also 2.3, 2.5 earthquakes in that same area today. But all over Greece, we have like around 40 earthquakes. Okay? And they're not saying word one about it. Albania, also a couple earthquakes up north of there. Okay? A lot of earthquakes. Let's go over to Italy now. We talked about Stromboli and Etna volcano over there, and just off the coast of southern Italy. Okay, over in Italy, southern Italy, we've had several quakes, just small quakes, minor earthquakes. Going over in central Italy, it's a simple different story. About 20 earthquakes have again struck in central Italy, with several other smaller quakes and minor earthquakes over in northern Italy, south of the Alps Mountains, separating Italy from Germany and Switzerland. Okay, the Alps Mountains, and also France. Okay, over in France today, besides those earthquakes over in northern Italy and northwestern Italy along the Riviera of France and Italy there, we have some minor earthquakes there, both in France and in northwestern Italy, minor earthquakes. Also northern Italy up around Brittany, not Italy, but Brittany, France, northern France, there with 2.3, 2.5 earthquakes up there. Just small earthquakes there. We go down to Spain, southern Spain, and two earthquakes in southern Spain, just minor earthquakes, and one minor earthquake in northern Spain as well. Now we're getting into some real saucy stuff. Okay? I want to show you something. I was doing some research earlier today. Now, some of you might say, well, Ron, what is really going on? I'm going to show you what's going on. Okay? I find it really hard to justify what has been happening in Europe. Really hard. Very, very hard. Because the agencies just are not being honest with anybody. They're not being honest with anybody. Okay? We talked about those earthquakes over in Greece. Okay? 50 plus earthquakes off the west central part of Greece. 50 earthquakes. Now, I'm just going to show you a handful of those earthquakes right here on this device. Look at the geometric placement of these earthquakes. You're not seeing about 40 of these earthquakes quite yet. Okay? I want to try to show you some of these earthquakes. I want to get your opinion about what's really happening with these earthquakes. Look at the geometric design that these earthquakes have here. Look at the geometric designs here. They look like they line up horizontally and perpendicular like that. They line up horizontally and perpendicular. What have we talked about in the past when these earthquakes lined up in a horizontal or perpendicular fashion? Can anybody remember what we talked about? I'm trying to let you guys give me the answer here before I give it to you. Now, the last time it happened, we saw it in Mexico. We saw it up in the Canadian area around Vancouver Island. We saw it happening over in the Southern Pacific. Aubrey, Renee, and Richard, you were exactly right. DUMBs, deep underground military bases. DUMBS, deep underground military bases. Okay? That's what this looks like. Now, you're not going to see it on the USGS map. You have to go over to the European app, which is my apps on the PlayStation or Play Store. Okay? Google Play or Play Store. That's where you get this map. European agencies come out with this map. Okay? It's correct. Okay? It's probably the most correct earthquake map that you're going to find. Okay? Deep underground military bases being destroyed. Almost every one of these deep underground military bases has the same depth. And not just that. Not just that. Basically, the same magnitude as well. Okay? You look at that, I'm going to try to get this back here again. Come on. .0 to 2.2 earthquakes. Each and every one of them except three. Three of them are 3.2, 3.3 earthquakes. The rest of them are all 2.1, 2.2 earthquakes. Okay? That's what's actually happening. Okay? That's off the west coast of Greece. 50 plus earthquakes over there today. 20 earthquakes around Greece itself. North to south on Greece itself, on the country of Greece. But you go off coast, off the west coast, that's when you all of a sudden see those 50 earthquakes. Unreal. Uncut and picking real. Aubrey's asking how deep do they go, Ron? Let me show you. Okay? Let me see if I can show you this. This particular earthquake is a 2.3, 3.1 miles deep. That's not really showing that well right there. But they're 3.1 miles deep. Okay? Incredible information. Really incredible information. Almost each and every one of them are 3.1 miles deep. Okay? It's incredible. A couple of them I've seen show 0.0 depth. Bullcrap. It's in the ocean. It's out in the Mediterranean. Okay? Under the earth of the Mediterranean. Norma Anderson says, sorry, was that bunkers? Underground military bases. Yes, you can call it bunkers. Fairly shallow earthquakes. Why? They have tunneled underneath the ocean. They've tunneled underneath the ground. We saw this happening before, 2 and 3 years ago, that was going on. My friend Larry, who passed away this last year, he and I talked about it for hours. We analyzed the information day after day when it happened. Okay? We saw it and identified it. Okay? Today we're seeing off the coast of Greece. And like I said, what makes it really stupid is we have about 20 earthquakes on Greece and 50 plus off Greece. Okay? It's insane. I knew it. I knew I'd boggle some minds here. Okay? Like I said, we have a couple earthquakes in southern Spain. We've got one minor earthquake between Spain and Algeria over northern Africa, in that spit of water between northern Africa and Spain. There's a deep earthquake fault down there just east of the Strait of Gibraltar. We've seen minor earthquakes, tremors, and also a 5.0 earthquake hit there last year. Today, just a minor earthquake there. On the west side of the Strait of Gibraltar, we have two minor earthquakes in the Azore Islands. Then we have another minor earthquake out in the Azore Islands, just barely on the on the east side of the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Okay? Just on the east side of the Mid-Atlantic Fault in the Azore Islands there. Okay? Just one minor earthquake there. Now, we also have 3 earthquakes in the Canary Islands. Okay? We have one earthquake over on the island of La Palma, where the Cumbre Vieja volcano is. Okay? One earthquake on the southern western side of Cumbre Vieja. Not a big deal. It's only a 2.3 earthquake. Not a big deal at all. Now, USGS is already reporting another earthquake over near Atoll, Japan. Okay, this is a 5.1 earthquake. Last week we had a 5.7 earthquake in the same area. This earthquake just barely happened and reported by USGS. It happened at 1909 hours, about 10 minutes ago. 1909 hours, which is 7:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Another 5.1 earthquake in mid-central China. Okay? Southeast of there, we had a 5.4, now a 5.1 northwest of there. Okay? So we've had some pretty good 5 earthquakes, both 2 in China and 1 over in Iran. Okay? One other earthquake south of Iceland today. Now, we talked about the Reykjanes Peninsula, part of Iceland. Okay? It's a spit of land on the southern side of Iceland. South of there, about 1,000 miles south of there, is what they call the Reykjanes Ridge, part of the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Okay? On the Reykjanes Ridge down there south of Iceland, we had a 4.8 earthquake. Okay? 4.8 earthquake is the upper side of a 4. Okay? Meaning, if it had been on land, it would have probably been moderate damage. It means it's out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. There's no damage there. Now, with that said, what have we been talking about when we talk about Mid-Atlantic Ridge? It's expanding. It's blowing apart in the middle of the Atlantic. The Atlantic Ocean's expanding. It's pushing Europe in an easterly direction. It's pushing North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico in a southwesterly direction. Okay? It's happening. It's happening. We're seeing earthquakes today on the New Madrid Fault. We're seeing earthquakes along the Eastern Continental Divide, where we see the Atlantic Fault pushing up against the United States. Pennsylvania, West Virginia and Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. We're seeing earthquakes. Okay? Now, with that said, I got a message from our friend Renee. You've seen her here in the chat before. She might be here today listening. Okay? I think I may have saw her or seen her early on here in the chat. Folks, she pointed out a seismogram from South Carolina. Kings Mountain, South Carolina. Yes, it's a volcano. She pointed out earthquakes on the seismogram. Yes, there was at least a 3.3, 3.4 earthquake at Kings Mountain, South Carolina. There were 2 other earthquakes on that seismogram that looked to be nearly 3.0 earthquakes as well. Now, Kings Mountain is a volcano over there in South Carolina. What's interesting about that seismogram, we're almost showing absolutely no magma, meaning magma is not responsible for those earthquakes. But The expansion of the mid-Atlantic is causing those earthquakes. Mid-Atlantic pushing on the eastern continent, eastern part of North America. Okay? That's what's causing those earthquakes. Here in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Georgia, we're seeing it. Okay? It's incredible. Richard Smith says February 29th was a 2.4 in Digby County, near where he lives in Nova Scotia. He says he fears large earthquakes are on the way. I agree. I absolutely agree with you, Richard. It's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen. Richard Smith just a few minutes ago told us about a 2.8 earthquake in Chile. Guess what? USGS is only showing one earthquake in Chile. What a bunch of crap that is. It's a 4.3 earthquake over in northern Chile, Atacama, Chile. Okay? Atacama County, Chile. It's a province of Chile, northern Chile. Near Tocopilla, Chile, a 4.3. Would you like to know how many earthquakes have hit in South America? Between Chile, the border of Chile and Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, upwards in Colombia today? Let me show you. You might be blown away about what I'm going to show you here. Maybe not. Maybe you were seen or have seen me talk about these earthquakes before, knowing full well what's happened. Okay? Look at the number of earthquakes over in South America, specifically in the Chilean area. Okay? Look at the number of earthquakes sitting over in northern Chile. 20 plus earthquakes there. 20 plus earthquakes there. That's where this 4.3 earthquake hit. I'm sorry, 10 plus earthquakes there. 10 plus earthquakes over in central Chile. Those earthquakes are 3.2, 3.5, 3.7, 4.1, 4.3, 4.7 earthquakes. USGS shows 4.3. What a crock of crap that is. Hello, Jamie Wilkie. Jamie Wilkie just showed up in chat. Thank you for being here. Rob just pointed out another 3.0 earthquake in Virginia City, Nevada. Oh, yeah. That area is being rocked. That area is being rocked. Look at all the earthquakes in northern Chile today. Amazing. Amazing. Literally amazing. 3.5, 3.7, 3.0, 3.1s, 2.8 along the shore, and a 4.3 near Tocopilla, Chile, right there. That's where the 4.3 is. Let's go north to Peru. Okay? This is on the eastern side of the Andes Mountains in Peru. Okay? Right there. Let me show you what this was. Okay? It was a 4.4 earthquake in the Pampas, which is the agricultural area of Peru. A 4.4 moderate earthquake there. Okay? I tried to enlarge that area so you can see where it is. It's in the agricultural area of Peru. Okay? It's also 81 miles deep. Going north, Ecuador. La Union, Guayas, Ecuador. A 3.8, and near Puerto Lopez, Manabi, is a 4.1. a 3.8 and a 4.1 there in Ecuador today. Okay, that's all. There's nothing in Colombia. So most of the earthquakes hit over in Chile, with one 4.4 earthquake in Peru and the 3.8 and a 4.4 over in Ecuador. Okay? But again, heaven forbid USGS says anything about it. Okay? Panama, a 3.6. Okay? Going north. Costa Rica, a 3.0. We go north. Nicaragua, a 3.0, a 2.7, and another 3.2. 3 earthquakes in Nicaragua. Okay? We go north. Guatemala. Guatemala near the coast, a 4.0 earthquake. USGS says zilch. Not a nothing. Not one dadgum earthquake there listed by USGS. 10 earthquakes here in the southernmost part of Mexico, right next to Guatemala. Okay? We go north. Okay? And before I do that, Oaxaca, Mexico, down here in the south, a 3.6, 4.0, 3.3, 4.2, 4.0, 3.4, 4.1, 4.0 earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes down there. North along the coastline, La Catalina, Guerrero, Mexico, 2.8, 3.2. Going north along the coastline, a 3.4. Okay, let's continue north. Cuauhtémoc, Michoacán, a 3.3. This is the Riviera of Mexico. 3.3, and also another 3.2 near Manzanillo. Okay? USGS says nothing. Not squat. Northern Mexico on the west side of the San Andres Fault. There's a 3.1 there. Okay? North of there, we absolutely show nothing in the Imperial Valley there. Nothing south of the Salton Sea. We know there are earthquakes there. Neither Europeans or the USGS says anything about that. Squat. Squat. I don't get it. I don't get it. Over along the Chocolate Mountains, Ocotillo Wells, there's a 1.0 listed. West of there, also right on top of the Chocolate Mountains, a 1.0 there. Borrego Springs, part of the Anza-Borrego Desert, 1.0 to 1.1 earthquakes, all the way up through the Anza area in North San Diego County. Okay? We go almost straight east from the Anza-Borrego Desert. Again, over to the North Shore Salton Sea. Just north of the North Shore Salton Sea in Indio, California, on the San Andres Fault, we have a minor 2.1 earthquake. Banning, California, 1.0 tremor. Beaumont, California, another 1.4 tremor. USGS is not talking about any earthquakes in Loma Linda, California. There are. There are 2.0, 2.7 earthquakes and tons of tremors in Loma Linda area there. Okay? There's a bunch of earthquakes there. All over Los Angeles, there's a bunch of earthquakes. Heaven forbid, USGS says one word about it. USGS is only showing one earthquake near Home Gardens, California. They're calling it a quarry blast. A quarry blast. Interesting. When I'm going to be back on my computer, I'm going to show you earthquakes all over Los Angeles. You folks in Southern California may be blown away. Jacob Fegan apparently lives here in North Carolina. He says, we've had several small earthquakes here in North Carolina over the past year or so. Never hear anything about it on the news. I'll tell you this, Jacob. If I were to show you seismograms from Roper, North Carolina today, believe me, there are some 3.0 earthquakes there. But USGS is not saying word one about it because they don't want the news agencies picking it up. I'm just about ready because I have friends in the news media in Charlotte, and I'm just about ready to drop a geological bomb with the local media here in North Carolina. Because I can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt they're happening and they're building in strength. Okay? We've shown it here before, and I'm going to show it to you again as soon as I get my new computer. I ordered it. It's on its way. Okay? I appreciate all the help that you guys have been in helping me get a new computer, and we could probably still use a little help paying it off. I don't want to take on any more debt than I absolutely have to, but in order to continue this program and give you the information you deserve, we need the computer. And so I did order the computer. And I appreciate any or all help that you guys have given me. I really do appreciate it. It means the world to me. Also, up in the Ridgecrest area, Silver Valley area, we've had some minor tremors. 1.2, 1.1 tremors over in the Ridgecrest area. USGS is saying there's a quarry blast over in the Silver Valley area. I'm going to tell you guys, I doubt it. I highly doubt it's a quarry blast. It's nowhere near a quarry. There's no quarry there unless they decided just to blow up sand for a living. It's a 1.3 earthquake, a tremor over there in the Silver Valley. Okay? It's north of Ridgecrest. It's probably about 30 miles north of Ridgecrest. Then another earthquake in the Mojave Desert, Little Lake, California, a 0.4 microquake. Then a real earthquake in Kozo Junction. And actually south of Kozo Junction in another town called, now I can't remember the town. Shoot, it's 67 miles north of Ridgecrest. Anyway, that town had a 2.4 earthquake today. Over in Kozo Junction, which is a Kozo volcanic field. It's a huge volcanic field. The volcanic field spans square miles, literally. Over in the Kozo volcanic field, we've had numerous tremors and earthquakes. Okay? USGS is only talking about a 1.2 tremor there and also a 0.5 microquake at the Kozo Junction area. The Kozo Junction, besides being a huge volcanic field, yes, there's craters and cones all over that area. Besides that, That area has a huge geothermal power plant, just like the geysers or just like the power plant north of Reno. Okay? And the power plant just south of the Salton Sea. This coastal power plant has about 60 turbines in that area. People have drilled into the upper magma chambers of the coastal volcanic system to obtain steam to power the turbines at the power plant to generate electricity like California here. That's what they're doing there. Okay? Yes, we're having earthquakes. The earthquakes will be there before the fact. The earthquakes have little to do with the volcanic field. Okay? Actually, they have everything to do with the volcanic field, but very little to do with the geothermal power plant. Yes, the holes that are dug down into the crust to retrieve steam from the volcano, seismic energy hits those areas. That does happen. But guess what? That is the volcano that's reawakening. Okay? That's a volcano that's reawakening. Now, that's where a majority of earthquakes have happened, as well as around Virginia City, Nevada, that Richard Smith told us about earlier. And Rob told us about earlier. Okay? Virginia City had a 3.2 earthquake, but they just barely got through having a 1.8 tremor as well. They've had a 2.0 at Virginia City, or just east of Virginia City, I should say. All these earthquakes are east of Virginia City, and USGS is having them northwest Virginia City. Bullcrap. USGS still can't get its head out of its butt. They can't get their directions right. Okay? Virginia City is having a small swarm of earthquakes, or what I determine as a cache of earthquakes. Okay? DD's asking, do we hate Muslims? No, we don't. Okay? Sorry, I'm removing that. I don't appreciate any hate talk on this channel. No hate talk at all. Okay? Anyway, Virginia City, Nevada, having swarms of earthquakes there. Let's go over to southwestern Texas. We're having swarms of earthquakes there. Toya, Texas, Coinosa, Texas, Mentone, Texas area. 3.0, 2.6 earthquakes all over that area. 2.4 earthquakes. All those earthquakes are a result of men digging into the earth, drilling oil over there, fracking, oil and gas pumps all over Texas. This area of southwestern Texas is getting hit all the time, every day. Multiple earthquakes every day. Swarms of earthquakes every day. Okay? All the time. Literally all the time. North there in Ebonics, Texas, YBANEZ, Texas. Excuse me, a 3.8 earthquake there. Now, I'm going to talk to you about 4 other earthquakes. Then I need to talk to you about a couple other things here. Over in Oklahoma, we've had some other earthquakes there. We told you about earthquakes here in Oklahoma. There are 586,000 oil and gas pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. I can only imagine how many pumps and jacks that are literally all over Texas. Probably thousands of oil and pump jacks all over Texas. Arcadia, Oklahoma today at 2.4 earthquake. Oil and gas. Prague, Oklahoma, 1.6 tremor there. Almost every day in Prague, Oklahoma, they get hit. Okay? Perry, Oklahoma used to get hit as well. This year so far, Prague, Oklahoma has had a 4.1 earthquake there. And ever since then, They've got hit with these tremors and also 2.0 earthquakes all over that area. Let's go east to the Pneumatic Fault. Okay? We briefly talked about the Pneumatic Fault getting hit. Today, Ridgely, Tennessee, USGS is reporting a 2.4 earthquake. Well, glory be. They finally report a dang earthquake in Ridgely, Tennessee. Folks, if I were to show you the seismogram from Ridgely, Tennessee right now, it would show not just 2.0, 2.4 earthquakes. It would show you 3.0 small earthquakes hitting there with seismic lines that long. No joke. Earthquakes getting hit on the Pneumatic Fault. One other earthquake that USGS is talking about is over in Pinckneyville, Illinois. Oh, no doubt. Almost every week we show you 3 seismograms from Illinois. 2.0 earthquakes all the time. Illinois and Evansville, Indiana. I think there's one other seismogram in Indiana as well. Here in Pinckneyville, Illinois, we have a 2.5 earthquake. No duh. Not surprising one little bit. We've been getting 2.0 earthquakes in Illinois for quite some time. Okay? Incredible. Totally and absolutely incredible. Now, I want to deviate a little bit from earthquakes right now. Today is Super Tuesday all over the United States, from West Coast, East Coast, even here in North Carolina. Voting is happening. 19 states. Polls close in just 5 minutes here in North Carolina. Polls are gradually going to close all across the United States, all the way west, probably within the next 2 to 3 hours. Okay? Voting has happened here. Absentee voters voting had already turned in their ballots, and their ballots were being counted here in North Carolina earlier this afternoon. So the news media probably has already put out what's happened. Okay? I don't really want to hear it till later, after the polls close. So I'm not even going to look. Okay? But something else happened today. Wilson says Trump is kicking butt, it wouldn't doubt. Okay? Trump could lock up the nomination very soon, not tonight. I don't think 19 states and probably 6 or 7 others prior to this could lock up the ballot, lock up the entire nomination. Okay? But he will go far to getting the nomination tonight. I don't believe Nikki Haley even has a chance at all. Now, something else happened for President Trump in his favor yesterday. Actually happened the end of last week. The United States Supreme Court ordered that the states in the United States cannot, I repeat, cannot kick Trump off the ballot. Even though Illinois is the latest state that tried, the United States Supreme Court ordered it can't happen. Okay? So that's a good thing. Now let's go to Texas. In the past few weeks, we told you about the border crisis, and we've touched on it quite a bit. Yes, we have 7,000 to 10,000 people crossing the border every day. Now, Governor Abbott in Texas signed a law into effect that would take effect on March 14th. that would allow law enforcement here in Texas to arrest everyone coming across the border that is not coming across the border legally. Okay? That could go into effect. However, there is an appellate court at the federal level that has ordered a stay to that enactment of the law. A federal appellate court has ruled that the law cannot go into effect. Now, today is March 5th. Okay? There's about 9 or 10 days between now and the time that that law was scheduled to take effect. Sometime in the next 9 or 10 days, the U.S. Supreme Court could rule that is a legal law. Now, I know what the Democrat communists are going to say. The left wing of the American political system is going to say. They're going to say that the Texas law is illegal. It's discriminatory because people with a darker skin than myself are going to get stopped and questioned about their papers, their documentation that would allow them to legally be in the state of Texas. I'm going to tell you this. I am a former law enforcement officer from California and also in Colorado, former police officer. Let me tell you this. When police stop you, it's not because of the color of their skin. Okay? Yes, there are a bunch of bad cops. We had 3 or 4 bad cops in my department when I was there. We finally got rid of them. Bye-bye. There are always bad cops that do stupid stuff like that. I'm not a racist, but this illegal immigration must come to a stop. And I don't call it immigration, I call it unlawful migrant attack on the United States. An unlawful intrusion on the United States. That's what's really been happening. Okay? Biden has the power in his little finger to stop the illegal migration coming here now. He's had that power for the last almost 4 years. As soon as he got into office, he said that he was tearing down the southern fence, which some of it he has done. Then all of a sudden, last year, he says, oh, by the way, we're going to build the fence. Bullcrap. I do not think that Biden has lifted a finger to building a fence again. However, the day he took office, he said that the border is open to anyone who wants to cross. And that has happened. We've now got about 20 million people from outside the borders of the United States that have entered the United States. And they're just not from Mexico, although they're coming from Mexico. The majority of them are not Hispanic. They're from 161 countries from around the globe, from Russia, China, and the Middle East, and other countries too. Olivia says we're in big trouble. You're absolutely right. President Trump has already said day one when he gets into office, he will stop it and start deporting people immediately. That's the last thing Joe Biden and Obama, yes, Obama's in this too. I believe it was last year, and I heard the recording yesterday. I saw it. It wasn't just a recording, it was a video. where Obama said that he would love to control another president. That he would love to control another president. And that's exactly what he's been doing. $16 ago, Obama said he wanted to transform America. That he has done. He started off before he was president as a community organizer. Then he became a senator. Then he became the president of the United States. Okay? I don't even believe he was supposed to be president. That's my own opinion. Okay? But he transformed America. And Biden, it appears, is the continuance of the Obama presidency. Okay? Obama has been breaking every dead gun law in the book on the books. Every one of them. Biden and his Department of Justice have made accusations against President Trump. Maybe those same accusations could be applied to Joe Biden today. Fact. But Biden's DOJ says, oh, he's too old. He can't comprehend charges against him if we did. Really? Really? Yes, he could. And his son should be going to jail. There's all kinds of charges between Biden and his son. They should be going to jail. Norma Anderson says they are saying they still want his wife to run. I think you're talking about Mr. Obama. Today, Michelle said, and the President Obama said, that Michelle will not be running for the presidential office in 2024. So the Obamas are gone. They're out of there. They're not even in question. Biden is supposedly still running for president. Who would take over for him? Guess who? Kamala. Kamala. Incredible. Linda Cummington says, I can't wait for Inauguration Day 2025. New bills, old bills gone, yes. NWS is in the chat. He says, I'm a veteran and can't afford food for my kids, but migrants get credit cards with $15,000 on them. This country is letting us down, I agree. Jan, if it was my bullywhick right now, I would make sure as President of the United States that you would have money to feed your kids. To heck with these invaders from the South. Veterans should be taken care of. Veterans should be taken care of before any migrant ever is. Yes, Biden has given credit cards with upwards of $15,000 apiece, anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000 apiece to each of these migrants to get a car, to get food, to get housing. Really, I wish I had $1,000 more dollars. I wish I had $15,000 more dollars. GR says, if you were president, what would you do about JQ? What is JQ? I don't know what JQ is. Marie says, peace and love, everyone. Hope all is well. Hey, Marie, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. All of you who can, please make sure you subscribe to this program. We greatly appreciate you subscribing to this program. When you do, make sure you also click on that little bell icon. There's a little tiny bell icon right next to the subscribe button. Click on that. A drop-down menu of 3 items will appear, and you want to click on the one that says all, ALL. That way you can get notified when we come on the air. Okay, so please do that. Those of you that have not subscribed or you weren't notified when we come on the program, be advised, YouTube has been unsubscribing people. So if you find yourself unsubscribed, please, folks, resubscribe and click on that bell icon to get notified when we come on the air. That would be greatly appreciated as well. I'm not saying this for me. I'm saying this for all of you. I try to provide you with emergency information every day, information that would help you and help your family survive what's going on. Okay? Norma Anderson says they're trying to empty the purse before they leave. Absolutely. Absolutely. Diane Kelman says, sing it, Ron. Oh, I am. And I'm not going to stop. Okay? I'm not going to stop. Okay? Linda Cummings says, I hope everyone went to the polls today. I hope so too. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I've kept my jaws going all night long, and now I want to open up to you. Also, Monday, there was a huge explosion in Michigan. The explosion was at a vape plant. You know those electronic vape machines that everybody, you see the young people smoking and everything, where the vape has more nicotine than a cigarette and stuff, and dangerous chemicals? Oh yeah, big time. Guess what? That factory in Yellowstone, or not Yellowstone, I'm sorry, that factory in Michigan blew up. One of the biggest fires that the fire chief has ever seen there. Incredible. One of the reasons is because they have butane for those electronic cigarettes. Butane explodes, and several other chemicals there as well, several other gases. Now, besides that, guess how those vape cigarettes are powered? Lithium batteries. It's no small wonder why there was such an explosion at that vape factory. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay. Norma Anderson says, how's Yellowstone? Yellowstone is fairly quiet. Yes, we have some tremors at Yellowstone. We do. Yellowstone magma chamber, like I said the other night, is 11 Grand Canyons in size. Huge. It stretches from the Canadian border to northern Utah and side to side over to Challis, Idaho on the west side of the Yellowstone magma chamber and over to Montana and Wyoming on the east side. Huge magma chamber. There are a bunch of tremors there today. Granted, okay, that's going to happen. Over further west in Stanley, Idaho, okay, we've had some earthquakes. Yes, we've had some earthquakes. And it's not just Stanley, Idaho either, okay? Stanley, Idaho had a 2.2. But west of Stanley, Idaho, in Smiths Ferry, Idaho, we've had a 3.2, a 3.8, and a 2.4 today. What happened there a week and a half ago? We had a 4.5 in this area. Folks, between Stanley, Idaho and Smith Ferry, Idaho, we have several faults. Those earthquakes that are occurring there are on fault zones. The Salmon River Fault is over there. Okay? Those earthquakes are on the fault zone. To the east of there is Challis, Idaho. That's where the Yellowstone magma chamber pretty much ends to the west. Okay? I don't believe that these earthquakes today have happened because of the magma chamber of Yellowstone. Yes, the magma chamber could put pressure on those faults, and that might possibly be the case. But these are earthquake faults as well. That's what's happening. Okay? Yes, there was an earthquake over in Trout Creek, Montana, a 1.4 tremor, which is about 100 miles south of Canada. 100 miles south of Canada. In Yellowstone today, northeast of Yellowstone Lake, Silvergate, Montana had a 2.3 earthquake. Again, this is in the Yellowstone Magma Chamber area. Just north of Yellowstone Lake is Mammoth, Wyoming, the Mammoth Geyser area. Okay, the Mammoth Geyser system, a 1.5 tremor there. Again, what's going on? There's geysers there. There's pressure there. Okay, we're going to have tremors there. Okay, northeast of there, also part of the Mammoth Geyser system in Mammoth, Wyoming, is a 0.6 microquake. Almost directly west of there, they say this is east-northeast of West Yellowstone. I call bullcrap. Bullcrap. It's not east-northeast. It's northwest of Yellowstone. Okay? A 0.1 microquake. Okay? Again, USGS cannot get its directions right if it killed them. Okay? It's sad. If somehow I was to be named by President Trump or any other president to be the director of the USGS, I would stop this kind of trend immediately. I would fire most of the management team at USGS, most of them. I would make sure that Lucy Jones never stepped foot in front of another microphone, ever again. That's where I stand about that. Okay? One more thing, and then I'm going to get out of here. One more thing. We've had 2 earthquakes that have happened since I've been on the air. Over in Alaska today, we talked about this in previous broadcasts. There's another 1.1 tremor over near Salcha, Alaska, Salcha, Alaska. This is the same location where 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, we had a 5.1 earthquake. We're still getting hit with tremors after that. Those are all aftershocks. Tremors and minor earthquakes, I should say. One earthquake that is in north central Alaska. This name I'm going to spell because it's a Russian name in Alaskan. Chalkytsyk. Chalkytsyk, Alaska, I think it's pronounced. A 1.4 tremor. It's in north central Alaska. This is probably 200 miles west of the Arctic Circle. Okay? Probably 60 earthquakes hit in Alaska today. USGS might be showing about 45. Okay? Heaven forbid they even told the truth in Alaska. Okay? Any other questions that I can answer for you today? Jan, USMC says, God bless you, Ron, and thank you for bringing us this information. Well, I appreciate being able to bring it to you. Okay? There's a lot of stuff happening. This president we have continues to violate the law all over the place. His justice system is unique in the form it's baloney. It's the worst Justice Department in history. This president is the worst president in history, period. End of discussion about that. He's worse than Obama. He's worse than Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, in comparison, was a saint. And bless the memory of Jimmy Carter. Okay? I met the man after he was president. He seemed to be an all right guy. Okay? Down to earth. He was building a home for the homeless people in San Diego. He came off the roof with one of his Secret Service agents, came down the ladder, and started walking to me and my partner. He came over to shake our hands and thank us for being in law enforcement. I've got to hand it to the man. Yes, I was in law enforcement, and I respect the respect. But I also respect the man that he was. Not the president that he was, but the man that Jimmy Carter was. Okay? That's just me. Anybody else can say whatever they want. But I'm going to respect the memory of Jimmy Carter. His wife just passed away several months back, and I'm very sorry about that. I'm very sorry. Rosalind Carter was an angel. She really was. And Jimmy Carter doesn't have many more days to be here on this earth. Guys, I'm going to get out of here, but not without sharing a scripture for you. Please stay tuned for another minute so I can share a scripture for you. I want to go over to 1 Peter, okay? The second epistle of Peter, first chapter. Paul and Peter had a similar writing style, okay? He starts off in the first chapter saying, Simon Peter, a servant and an apostle of Jesus Christ, to them that have obtained like precious faith with us through the righteousness of God and our Savior Jesus Christ. This is where it gets into sounding like Paul. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of God and Jesus our Lord. That sounds a lot like Paul. Philippians, Corinthians, etc., etc. Sounds much like Paul. Now, it continues in verse 2. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of God and our Jesus Christ our Lord. According as his divine power hath given us unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue. Isn't that also what we should be called? Glory and virtue, that's what we should be doing. Exercising glory and virtue of Jesus Christ. Okay? Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises. We talked a lot this past year about promises, and we continue talking about promises and covenants that the Lord has given us. That ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. That's where we're at today. That's exactly what we are today. Trying to escape the corruption of the world through lust and power. And besides this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. Charity is a pure love of Christ. Charity is the pure love of Christ. That's what we should be having. That is what we should be having, is charity for our brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, I pray that you will find this same thing in your lives. The same kind of adjectives that should be said about you as servants in Christ's kingdom here in this earth. I love you all. I really do. If anything else happens tonight, around the world or here in the United States or anywhere, we will be back here on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, God be with you. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side, brothers and sisters. I love you very much. Have a good night. God's Spirit to be with you. God bless. Good night, everyone.